Welcome. 420 in Cleveland, Ohio, at the Voices Radio Station. Welcome to the first ever Ohio podcast, talking all about cannabis here in Ohio, located in the great city of Cleveland, Ohio. We like to call it Thieveland. This is our first show kicking it off. My name is John Will. I'm going to be your bud tender. People like to call me the weed man. I've had a long experience with this plant. Very happy for the legalization of marijuana here in Ohio. We're going to be talking about all things about education, information, and events about marijuana here in Ohio. This show is strictly for people 21 and over, and I'd like to just give you a disclaimer first. Everything we say here is advice. We are not botanists. We are not lawyers. We are not judges. What we know is what the law is providing us, and we like to stay in that legal framework. So anything you take, don't take that to bank from us. We just going to give you the best advice, things that we know from our experience over 30 plus, probably more than that in this industry. So we're going to get things going. Today was a pretty tripped out day. Most of the time, we're going to start off with a few segments. We're going to talk about legalization of weed in our first block here. But in general, we were usually going to be talking about legalization, and then we'll talk about cultivation, and then we'll give you some cultivation and education side, and then we'll talk about events and have some good guests on with us throughout this week. Our first guest had a few issues today. We was going to have James Brown, who's a good friend of mine who grows out of Mansfield. He's a good guy, and he's actually blind, and he is one of my good friends, but some things happened where we couldn't make it to that. And probably next week we'll have Nicole, who taught over at the cannabis school. And also we got some guests coming up that's going to be talking about cannabis and pregnancy maybe later on in the show today. We'll see if that works out. First off, I just like to talk about what is legal smoking weed here in Ohio. Right now, the law is if you are over 21 years old, you can participate in recreational marijuana. Now, as far as where you get that from, that is not good. Right now, I think the only legal 100% way is to be cultivating by yourself. The law actually changed on 12/7 last year. So people started popping seeds. Now, plenty of people done got their first crops, and it's been plenty of grow expos throughout the state. They are events starting to pop up, and our big thing here is to break the stigmatism about smoking weed. Well, we got pretty much everywhere you can buy alcohol. Up here in Cleveland, Ohio, you can buy a sack of THCA, and we're going to get into the differences of weed and weed strains, what's at the gas station, what's good for you. You know, we'll talk about edibles and consumption and things like that. But as far as the legalization here in Ohio, legally, you are allowed as an adult in a household. One household, you get 6 plants per adult, a maximum of 12. Now, whether that's 12 in flower, whether that's 12 in bud, those are all different. The technical aspect of THC, it does not even develop in the plant until you start going into flower. Flowering and budding is the same thing. That's that second stage of that. So in the law aspect of those things, it is still pretty ambiguous. You know, I'm very high. It's just 420. So it is not clear on, can you have mother plants? Can you have 2 mother plants? You just have 6 in bed, 6 in flower. These things is like the governor said. Well, I think we are in the wild, wild west, and we are going back into regular order. Now, we do have a cannabis control board here in Ohio, and they will be dictating their regulations. Is going to start looking like the laws, if you ask me. That's what it's going. Right here on the 7th of June, you will be able to apply for a recreational license for distribution. So they are going to have distribution for marijuana coming up here. The application is they'll be taking them on the 7th of June, and that's going to be $18,000. But the way it's set up right now is that it's a bunch of people. The recreation, well, the medical dispos right now are all set up and they're ready to go right now, but they just need the law to be passed. That was the first time when, in between when the law passed on the 12th and till the Ohio Congress let out, that was our little window that we could have got recreational. The governor offered a deal. He said he'll let the current dispos, the dispensaries, pass out recreational weed, but we didn't go for that, and I'm almost glad that they didn't, to a certain extent. But there's a lot of different opinions on the traditional market, and I will refer to the traditional market is the market that the legal market is standing on the back of. No matter how you cut it in this world and in this state, the plant has been around, it's being consumed by people legally or not legally. It's being consumed, and it's always been that way. And the jump overall of the people who, this would never happen in another industry besides marijuana. There's no way some automaker would just let you just come in and not pay your taxes and do your dues and jump on the top of that. Now, the morality of that is something funny. It goes into the law when you ask me, because they are not giving any concessions to the people who kept this market alive. This market just didn't start. This plant did just start growing in Ohio yesterday. When I was born, it was here, so it's going to stay here. So that is always a funny thing when it comes into the law with me. I don't understand how they don't put priorities like New York. New York had a good law where if you had a felony, if you had a felony charge on your record, you was first in line to get a dispo. And I like something like that, because there's a lot of people out there that's incarcerated right now in Ohio for marijuana. James Brown, the guy that was going to be on the show, he actually went blind 3 months before going into jail, and they still locked him up for a significant amount of time for a marijuana charge. And I still think that was like completely ludicrous. And those are the things I would like to see addressed in the law coming up. We got other things I say probably legally when we getting in here is it legal? The good question is it legal to go to Michigan and come back with the weed from there? And that is a good question. I think if you're across the state line, I don't know, because I don't know if you could prove where it came from. If it's yours as an adult, I don't know if you could possess it or not. But you are allowed to carry 2.5 ounces in a car. You could transport with it. Seeing how Canada did it, which is a whole country who went legal, I think what we're going to trade off is if you are distracted driving here in Ohio, that's going to be it. So you're going to have to put that seatbelt on. Can't be smoking. Ain't going to be none of that, which you shouldn't be doing anyway. And that seemed like that's what Canada's trade-off was. Okay, we'll let you smoke weed, but you're going to have to tighten your driving up. And with the advent of Uber and Lyft and all of that, and in a great city like Cleveland, who got great public transportation, you should not be out there intoxicated doing anything. That's how I feel about that. Now, you can have 2.5 ounces of flour and 15 grams of concentrated. And what concentrated is, the most popular concentrate to me would be wax. Wax is sort of just the trichomes off the plant, the good part of the plant in a concentrated form. That is technically how the state of Ohio wants you to consume marijuana. They don't want you, when you buy flour from the medical dispensary, they actually want you to come home and transform it into not flour. Under the old law, under the medical law, it was sort of not right. It was illegal for a while to burn the plant. And I thought that was crazy, because you putting a higher concentrated plant on people, the dosing is different for people depending on your body type, weight type, your chemistry. It's a lot of factors in there. That's the one thing I would say with all of this. If you're new to this, I'm just gonna say just the thing I'm gonna tell you always is go low and slow. And what that would mean is low dosage. Don't go smoking with some professional weed smokers who up there in the 31, 32%, and this your first time out. That is not right. So that's when you're gonna get in trouble. And this is gonna be maybe the only time that I would maybe recommend some CBD or some other forms of weed that doesn't have the active THC in it. And you could just ease into it. And that, even from a medical standpoint, if you don't want the euphoria of the THC and you want the benefits of the other parts of it, Delta 9, a lot of other components, the CBDN and the other components, THCA, which is also in most marijuana also. If you want those benefits for pain relief and nerve relief, stress relief, try some CBD, try some CBD gummies. Just with all of it, just remember to go low and slow. Low dosage. You just got to go low dosage and a little bit at a time till you get to your body, till you get to the right tolerance that you like. And it's several different kinds. Sort of, I was leaking out of the legal aspect into more of some education on the new user consuming the weed. That another big thing that I'm gonna say every time I'm on the air is gummies will get you in trouble. Gummies is dangerous. You know, you get your auntie at home, been cooking down a half a pound of weed for 5 days in a crock pot. That can be very, very strong. It's hard to tell the dosage of things. You make a pan of brownie one day, 2 brownies might be okay for you. The next time you make it, those 2 brownies might send you to a psychotic episode. I just can't say strongly enough that that's when, with the gummies, that's not really, let that be pre-packaged from somebody who can guesstimate on the percentage of milligrams of weed per cubes. Like most of them coming in 50s, but I would recommend if you got a cubes more at 5 milligrams to 10 milligrams a piece, and maybe even biting it in half before you go ahead and give it 30 to 45 minutes. That is the other thing with the edibles. People don't understand. It's a slow takeoff on that. It has to go through your bloodstream. It's not like inhaling vapor or the flower. The gummies has to go through your stomach, go through your bloodstream, and then the active ingredients will start getting to you. So be cautious, take your time, and definitely low and slow is the way to go if you just getting into the gummies. I'm gonna say that over and over again. I'm anti. Don't the kitty packs and all that stuff looking like nerds and all that. Be careful with that. That's what I recommend. I do recommend you keeping those very far away from the kids, because your kids and your pets too. How many people you see on YouTube, but they dog done got into the chocolate or the gummies and they over there toe up, can't drink enough. And that's real. You have to be very cautious with the gummies, with all your weed. The law is that if you're in the house with it and you got kids, it needs to be under a lock and key so they can't get to it. But it's similar like our great state that's got gun laws. And if you keep your gun and your weed in the same place, you're probably doing pretty good. It's probably secure for you like that. So that's pretty much, I would have to say that about the gummies though. That is definitely that. Now, legally also here in this state, there's some good questions about the THCA. THCA is such a thing because it's pop-up shops. I don't know about in the other states. I've seen a couple in Columbus and on the east side of Cleveland and on the west side of Cleveland. Any gas station you go into, you can see THCA, and it is so controversial. It's so much information. And here's what I would tell you about THCA that I know right now. THCA is actually a product of the Farm Bill. THCA is when the plant is tested. You have to send it off to get it regulated from a reputable tester. and get the information back. And what they are actually looking for is the Delta 9. They're looking for the absence of Delta 9, and that's the first classification of THCA. Then I have to get a second test for it. And if it meets the standards, then it's considered THCA. They're saying THCA has an extra compound that until ignited, it doesn't turn into THC. But with this law is actually in a farm bill. So THCA is just like any other crop that can be transported throughout the country, really. So right now, if you're bold enough and you got the paperwork, in theory, the way the law reads, you can ship THCA weed all over everything. It's not an active compound until you put fire on it. It's saying it's an extra molecule in there that until combusted, it does not turn into THC. Do I mess with THCA? Absolutely not. Not right now. I couldn't. I seen some stuff that looked like regular weed that's THCA, but it's a few things that just is curious to me. I haven't seen anybody sell me a THCA seed. I haven't seen any THCA clones. All I see is THCA products in the gas stations and in the dispensaries that's trying to say we got legal weed. And if that's still how they getting it by, and if it's good for you and it's good for your chemistry, who am I to say it's wrong? I would just check like we all do with all good things. Check out the grower. If you could get as much information on that as you can. Usually THCA is coming with a big long sheet, and it probably would be more. I would probably go looking there for more therapeutic aspects of the plant. If I would want to go to sleep, I'd be looking for CBGN, which is more of a relaxing thing, and it's not psychoactive at all. It's not the THC. It's really gonna help you sleep. And I would look at that because when I smoke it, me personally, it lasts for about 10 minutes. It look pretty, it smell good, it's in a good bag, they dress it up. But if I hit it, that's not what I'm looking for out of the plant at all. But it is available, and technically, I don't think it's a law against it. It's just like CBD weed. You could get CBD weed all the time because it does not have THC. And technically, I don't think they're going to do it. The test alone for these police departments to even test the weed, man, it was very expensive. So right now, with it being legal in the state, I don't really know if they are ever gonna. I don't know if that's gonna be legal or not. I don't think they'll ever test it like that. I mean, I think here in the great city of Cleveland, Ohio, the county actually ratified. They decriminalized weed probably about a couple 2 years ago, and they will only give you. We just have a special misdemeanor, and then we have a special a felony. It's like I forgot. It's like a special 5, but it don't go on your record. And at any of your weed tickets here, you got to be doing something crazy. Technically, here in the county, you can have, I don't know the exact numbers, but it's in the thousands. So it's like a pound plus the weed in one bag, and you could be legal in downtown Cleveland, and it's not criminal. Now, the distribution of that, you still gonna get into other charges like that. But as far as the possession here, it's not. Most tickets here in Ohio, except for a few counties, is pretty decriminalized where they would just give you $250 tickets. So that is one aspect of this thing that's certain places. Like I'll tell you another place, don't go to Ashland and smoke weed. With that college in there, they still throw you up under the bus. So you have to be careful with that, with where you at. But here in Cuyahoga County, I love being here, and it's just great. And I actually visited Sandusky this weekend, and pretty much every smoking area, it was bike weekend and anime convention too, though, but it was smoking everywhere. But it was respectful, though. You go to the smoking area. I'm also don't believe in contaminating people's air, so I like to step aside. Everybody know we just like the same people who was in the parking lot before that know if you don't want to come over there, don't come over there. And it seemed like that, but we got to break the stigmatism on that. If people going to be allowed to drink and drive and drink liquor and all that, I don't see too much social differences between those things like that. I doubt the church trying to weigh in on anything like that also, but that is absolutely THCA. I don't know. I don't know why you wouldn't put all your weed in that bag, get you the thing. That's my opinion about that. But it is lots of variety of it. You know, a lot of people think it's good. Me personally, I don't. You know, I really don't. And then it's other things too, because things like that, you want to know the grower, what they growing with, and that's going to be where the market is going to. When you ask me, my opinion is genetics is already everything. If you growing good, you want to grow the best. So you want to be selective about your genetics and you want to trust your grower. I think that's going to take the precedent of this market right now. What you growing and how you growing it is about to start and it's about to go into just overdrive. I think that's about to be the biggest thing, which is good for us. I mean, it's a debate out there because I just left. I was over at Cuyahoga Valley Garden Supply Company. I just left out there with Ben. They got a dispensary, and it's a great place. You know, I love indoor gardens. I like the lady over on Fleet. They've been here. The lady over on Denison. There's some good places to get grow supplies from, but out at Chagrin Valley Hemp Company, that's the dispensary out there. You could go out there, and Nicole, one of our guests, works out there. She is educated beyond belief on this plant and the therapy of it. But out there, that's a good place to go. And they have a difference of opinion on where the market is going as far as what should be legal, the traditional market, how this market is going to be saturated. To me, I don't think it's that hard. We just going to go straight from, we got a great sample size of what Michigan did. And when Michigan came out front, you know, it was rough out the gate a little bit, but they let their people grow like 500 plants for $500. I think it was something like that. So it's different, but we got a good sample size. That's why Ohio, we kind of looking a little bit silly with New York and Pennsylvania and all these other states right around us with legalization, recreational, and we coming out the gate so not good. It was a poor infrastructure and poor foundation to get this going. But we are legally allowed to smoke weed, which is that's the only law I really ever broke, was having marijuana in my possession. And now taking that off the table, it is a great law. As an adult in this country who fought for this country, I'm proud to be able to just take that stigmatism off the table. We're going to get to our first break here. Definitely, we'd like to thank EP and the Voices radio station. I want you to check out Hot Mess on Tuesday coming up right after this show. We got Al Porter's show coming up, a hip hop radio show coming up. A little rough out the gate, but thank you. Stick with us for the second block, man. We'll be right back after this.
We are Voice It Radio, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on voiceitradio.com.
Hello, this is Larry H. Gardner, host of Headlines and Headaches on voiceitradio.com. Fentanyl is the leading cause of drug overdose deaths in Cuyahoga County. It is now found in powdered cocaine, crack cocaine, meth, and heroin. Any drug may contain fentanyl. If you use drugs, never use alone, and carry Narcan in case of overdose. Call the Adams Board 24-hour addiction line and mental health crisis hotline at area code 216-623-6888. That's 216-623-6888 if you are ready for help.
There are lots of choices for Medicaid plans in Ohio right now. It's confusing, but luckily this is an easy choice. CareSource. If you're a CareSource member, you already know about our great benefits, huge provider network, and life-changing life services. And if you're not a CareSource member, this is your time to make the change. Over 1 million Ohio Medicaid members can't be wrong. It's your Medicaid, it's your choice. So choose the plan Ohioans trust. CareSource. Enroll now at caresource.com.
If you need an immigration attorney, there's one name you need to know: Margaret Wong and Associates. Visit them at imwong.com. That's imwong.com, or give them a call at 216-566-9908. 216-566-9908. Margaret Wong and Associates, award-winning immigration attorneys.
It's a family affair. It's a family affair.
Do you have a heart for children? If you answered yes, then foster parenting might be right for you. Did you know there are over 2,500 youth in Cuyahoga County foster care in need of a caring family? You can be the influence in the life of a child or teen who deserves a bright future. Call Sappy today at 216-295-7239 or visit them on the web at www.sappy.org. That's www.safy.org to learn how you can be the bridge that secures a child's future.
It's a family affair. It's a family affair.
Hey, check out Laura Cowan's Empowerment Hour. That's me, Laura, every Monday from 6 to 7 p.m. on Voice It Radio.
Ohio City Barbecue is now Real Smoke Barbecue. The only thing that's changed is the name. Still serving the best barbecue, CLE. Enjoy the world-famous brisket, mac and cheese, greens, and the best cornbread to ever hit your taste buds. Real Smoked Barbecue is located at 3829 Lorraine Avenue in Cleveland. Out or give them a call at 216-417-5987. That's 216-417-5987. Real Smoked Barbecue. Tastes so good, make you want to slap your mama.
We are Voice It Radio, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on voiceitradio.com.
Welcome back to Voice It Radio, voiceradio.com, located in beautiful Thieveland, Ohio. Welcome to the Ohio Gas Company podcast. We talk about everything cannabis, education, information. We're going to talk a little bit about cultivation on this block. I would have loved for my man to be here, James Brown. His nickname was the Blind Bud Cultivator, but him and my buddy having a big problem with that. But we're going to talk about a little bit about what is legal here and with the cultivation here in Ohio. Like legally, we can cultivate weed up to 6 plants as an adult. And with that, I would like to say that you should probably start. It's a lot of information and a lot of things to get going right now with the spring being gone, and I think the threat of the frost being gone. If you are smoking on a budget, I think you should go to one of the local grocery stores. Like I said, Chagrin Supply Group. I'll be messing their name up. And forgive me too if I stumble. I smoke weed too, so if I forget something, that's on me. But they got a lot of places in town, including a lot of your head shops in town. A good head shop is the Hippie House. They got locations, and a couple in one over in Lakewood, over in Kansas, a couple in Canton. They all have seeds in there. And you should give it a try, for the price of a pack of seeds. Like I say right now, seeds is going, a good seed is like $10 to $15 a piece. If you catch them on sale, you maybe could get a 10 pack for $50. Now with seeds, it's a couple kinds of seeds. Growing weed is like really two kinds of growing weed here. You got auto flowers, and you also have photo-sized flowers. And the differences between the two is, one, you have to switch the lights on, but if you put it all outdoors, nature's going to take care of it anyway to a certain extent. Auto flowers is a seed that's been tricked out to go straight in the bud, and the difference is auto flowers just automatically, they go into bud, which is the flowering part, which is which is producing the fruit, which is the part that we want to consume, they just do that on a timing issue. So the difference with that is that you can't do the same. You won't be getting seeds out of there. That's not a good plant to clone. A lot of people just use auto flowers for, production. When you get good, if you want to just hit it and quit it, like the last set of auto flowers, I grew Ethos Jealousy, and in 70 days I was cutting it down, and it was just a great. That's when you got to really stick with a good brand, good genetics that do some good research on anything that you're doing. Now, photo size seeds are, you got to it's two different stages. You have to be in veg and you have to be in flower in those stages. So when you just get started, that's two different things. So from the seed to the seedling, and then you keep it in veg and veg is 18 hours to 24 hours of light, somewhere in there. Some people, it's gonna be 18 to 24, some variation of that, of the lights are on. So what that is doing is actually making the plant think that it's summertime and springtime. And then you drop it back after you happy with the plant. You could keep a plant in veg for a long time. That's how mother plants has come along. So when you vegging it, you want to get, to me, it's always get the 16 to 32 nodes. That's kind of technical, but we'll get over there to it, and we'll talk more about those things as we go. But those is the two different kinds of seeds. The other more popular thing to do is to get a clone. And the reason why a clone is good is because somebody grew that plant out, hopefully all the way to maturity, and you want the exact DNA, you want the exact same genetic of that plant. And when you take a clone, that's what you're going to get. You'll get the exact genetics off that. You get into trouble when you get away from, so if you clone it up to about 6 or 7 times for the mother plant, so you took your clone, and then when you grew a good plant, you gave your cousin some clone, then if the next time they gave it something clone, soon the DNA will start running out. To me, that's what some people just believe in, popping seeds, and I kind of like popping seeds and cutting clones, but it's you want to be selective. The way I do photosynthesized seeds is I want 25 to 30 seeds. And some people, feminized seeds, and just in the photosized seeds, it's a branch in there too. Sometimes you got feminized seeds where it's automatically a female and it's just gonna grow. Other times you just get a pack of seeds and you have to, in the seedling stage, you look for 2 little nodes that's popping out the bottom of the thing, and you could tell if it's male. Whether it's got a seed sac that actually look like a little ball sac, then it's a male. If it's got 2 little thistles that's sticking up, that's the female. And then you keep those. That is the cheapest way to go, and that is the way to get the best genetics. But that's somebody that's got 25 solo cups on their back porch, and then they'll be selective about which one they do. And I recommend doing that too, because you weed out the runts, or you weed out a plant that might not look so strong, and you want to keep those good, the ones that's the strongest. A lot of people call that phenome hunting. I just think that's just going for the high quality stuff. You could tell with your eyes, and I'm sure there's some genetic differences to that, but some of these things get complicated way harder than what it is. You looking for your best plant. So if you got a 4x4 in your apartment and you pop 10 seeds, you're only going to be able to fit four plants. So take your best 4 plants, put them in there with the other seeds, either give them away, put them out, or, with this plant, you're going to kill over some plants. I recommend that too. Make sure in the beginning, you're going to kill a few things, and it's all right. It's a plant. You're going to get better as you go. And I think the more mistakes, me and Ben out at the grocery store was just talking about that. The more mistakes you get in the beginning, the better you are. And then that's just you're going to have problems. It's just how you deal with those problems. Right now, if you put auto flowers out, I was started at the solo cup in the house. It's just like you did in in science class. I don't even know if they teach that. We pop bean sprouts back in the day, you put it in a jar, the little root grow out, plant that root into the dirt, and then you get that. A lot of people use paper towels. It's a lot of methods that you can use. Some people go straight into the medium that they're using, and that's a whole department in itself. Me, I like organic. Organic to me, if we want to talk about which you would put either seed in, the auto flower or the photosized feminized seeds, you have to put it in some type of dirt, some type of media in the grow. And from that is usually another two sets of paths to go down. And that would be dirt or hydro. So dirt, natural, growing in some medium to me is like growing in dirt. But now we got it's spin off in the cocoa core. It's a lot of different mediums that you could use. What I would say to stay away from is the rock wool. Rock wool is just not biodegradable. I'm trying to move my personal grow. I like to be as sustainable as we can. Reuse the dirt. To me, you get a better quality taste. That's my preference. And I get more terpenes, more sugar, everything I like, better bag presentation, but it's more time consuming. It is some trade-offs because you more forgiving in dirt because the dirt has its own filter system and things like that. Now, when you grow in hydro or DTW, which is you flood the bottom of the plant a few times a day, and then it feeds it by flooding the bottom of a pot. It goes up with water and then it goes down. Some hydro system is just spraying water on the bottom of it 5 or 6 times a day. But all things now is just pretty much consistent to me that you have to water from the top also. Some people do not water their hydro from the top at all. And I don't know. That's just not how I would do it. I would still with water from the top. It's like watering from the bottom to me is making healthy roots. Watering from the top is making healthy fruit. In my opinion, in general, that's what I found to do both is ideal. So it's some form of it along the way. Even if you strictly water them from the top, I'm sure a couple of times there's plenty of people who will dip the whole bottom of their plant in the water, let that dry back also. So that's the thing. The other part about which medium you growing in is the dry back, because there's 2 parts of this plant when we growing it that you need to concern yourself with: the root system and the leaves on top of it, which is going to be doing all the work, transmitting all of the light and all of those nutrients you give it into food for the plant. It's a rule of thumb that we like to say, the bigger the root, the bigger the fruit. So a lot of times, a lot of people have been growing in the dirt, kind of tall and narrow. The last few times I grew, I got the biggest bags I could get, and I will grow into the disposable bags and pots. It depends on what I'm growing and what I'm going to grow in. If I had success growing one way, I'm pretty much going to repeat that. But I widen the bag out, use still only about 3 to 4 gallons of dirt, but I keep it very, very low. It's only like a 4 to 5 inch profile of dirt, where a lot of people's bags for the same 3 to 4 gallons of dirt or a couple of gallons of dirt is growing pretty tall, going more like 18 inches up in the air. On up, you got the felt bags that's very popular right now. I had some success with that, but to be honest with you, the plastic bags make better roots, but it seemed like the felt bags that breathe more make tops better. So it's kind of like a hybrid between the two, probably be something good the way I see it now. And there's other things about those medians, the dirt to the hydro. You need to allow your roots to dry back. The biggest thing that people do is overwater and underwater. So once you pick your dirt, cocoa core, if you on a budget, and I will talk about this is going to be one thing that's going to be something I'm going to bring up all of the time, is how me coming from the projects here in Cleveland, how to grow on a budget. It is very realistic for you to go out in your backyard right now, dig up some dirt, put it in a pot, put your seed in there, and you will grow weed out of it. Whether you grow a very successful plant, that's going to be up to you. You know, it's a lot of things, there's variables on that. Also, it is at, let me think, this is Home Depot. They have an organic dirt out there. I know all my grocery stores going to hate me for this, but they have an organic dirt out there for $20 for about a 50-pound bag. And you talk about great success. I think we grew Cali Octane got grown in that. I know Red Pop with Unicorn Poop got grown in that. Very, very successful. After we start talking about the dirt that you put it in, the next thing I'm going to think about is what kind of nutrients. Me going organic, trying to keep the cost down. I would like to make my dirt so good that it could make it all the way through the whole grow. My man, James Brown, he is just a proponent. He only top dress, and top dress is adding nutrients to the top of your plant into the dirt so that you can give the plant food. You just feeding it through the top. And that is what's called top dressing. And top dressing usually come in two different forms. It's in the flowering phase, in the vegetation phase, and in the flowering phase. There's two different ways to go about that. And on the fertilizer chart, like you want a general fertilizer, it's like the NPK number that's off in the woods, but when you start reaching that, that's like nitrous, phosphate, and I'll be forgetting the other one. It's like 444. I use Gaia Green, but it's a lot of things that you could use. A lot of people don't use anything. A lot of people just get that organic dirt and they stir up a couple tablespoons of backstrap molasses, and you could get that at Mark's, like literally 2 to 3 tablespoons of backstrap molasses in the dirt from your backyard. And if you're really feeling real sexy, just go down to Walmart and get yourself a pack of Nightcrawler worms and put that in your dirt. And let me tell you, you will be amazed at what you'll grow out of that. Worms in growing, especially in organic, is really good because they do two things. Worm castings is in most people's dirt mix already. It's a good source of nitrates. And when you actually have worms in your dirt, they're making air pockets for your roots to grow, and it's helping with drainage. And like I said, those air pockets, a lot of people don't think about the roots as part of the plant like that, but that's when I say overwatering them will flood those roots out, which won't let nutrient uptake. So that is like later on in the shows, we'll give you a little overview. We could get into some of the things. And if you got any questions, send them over to the voiceofradio.com or hit me over at Sohio216@gmail or Sohio.com. I'll try to answer the most questions you can. And if you're in Ohio, anywhere from Cincinnati to Toledo to all the way down there by Wheeling in the corner of St.Clairsville, my people over in Warren, wherever you at, I know somebody close to you that's a good growmy. That's our little saying that all of us homies that grow together is growmies. I got somebody that could roll up on you. What I need you to do is when you do start growing and you get advice, especially your first grow, if you in the dirt, you in the hydro, whatever you in, document that, because it's going to be hard for us to have a little bit of experience to help you out if we do not know. You just can't say, hey, John, I got these yellow flowers over here and I not know what media you're growing in. And keep a track of what you're using, what amendments you're putting on into it, and we could fix it. But if you don't tell me like what you're growing and how you're growing, it's going to be hard because it's a lot of different things. I also say just follow 1 to 2 people that's very similar. Don't follow a whole lot of people. You just follow 1 or 2 people, and then we'll get you to that. All right.
Make us a phone call right quick, John. We got
All right.
somebody want to come on. So let's see.
That's fine.
Let's work out for.
Man, EP. He's gonna be on a Hot Mess Radio show.
Here I am. Hello.
All right. We got a special guest on our first show today. Guest, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi, everybody. This is Fi. My name is Fi Sankofa. I am a traditional midwife and a cannabis educator. I used to teach through and with the Cleveland School of Cannabis. So I know all the hot topics you're talking about.
That is so good. Also, did you work down like where is that the school that Lenny B had?
No, not the school that Lenny B had. This is the school that's out in Independence. So it's one of the first schools of cannabis that's accredited, and that's been open. They opened in December of 2017.
That is very, very good. Now, I know you brung up on cannabis and pregnancy. That is a good question because I am expecting my first grandson this year. Shout out to them folks and my people up there. And I also have another great nephew coming. I have about 3 family members that's with child right now, and I know they are very interested. I know back in the day, they used to say the Jamaican ladies used to smoke the weed all during the pregnancy, but I haven't had any medical science on that, me being a man and stuff. So any information you could give us on that, we appreciate that.
Well, you know what? There is a study. So I tell people all the time, there was a nurse, her name is Melanie Dreyer, and she did the first ever study on cannabis and pregnancy with Jamaican women. So when I teach about cannabis and pregnancy and the uses and the safe uses for it, then I always refer people back to that study and looking her up, because what she found was she did a study of women over a 5-year time span, and how it affected them, you know, while they were pregnant and the effect of the children after. So it's a good study to look at. So it's a good study to start with. But what I tell women all the time is, you know, there are safe ways to use cannabis while you're pregnant, because we don't want to do it the traditional way. A lot of people think, well, I can just keep smoking or anything like that. But the problem is nicotine. So I tell women a lot of times, if you are going to smoke, you have to get rid of, you know, your traditional wraps or the way you're used to consuming it, maybe with white owls or papers or you know, anything that would contain nicotine in it. So I tell them to steer clear of that. That's, you know, one of the biggest things. I know you talked earlier about edibles and being conscious of that. So that's usually a better way for women to dose themselves, because you can control a dose with your edibles when you're pregnant. So, and then the other part of it is going by your intuition, because some women find that they only need it maybe in their first trimester when they're dealing with morning sickness, as opposed to when you're in your third trimester and you're already tired. Maybe you just needed to relax or get yourself mentally prepared for the laboring process. But always to listen to your body. Because sometimes you don't even need it at all when you're pregnant.
Saying that, like, I agree with you, the nicotine aspect of things and the wrap and that. So what will be the most value that you have seen over your time in this study? What's the most beneficial use of marijuana that people, I heard you mention nausea in the morning. Is there any other benefits that these studies or you found out over your time studying this?
Well, one, it really is obviously what we all use it for, is really to be able to relax.
Oh, yeah.
And usually when you're pregnant, a lot of pregnant women are dealing with stress, whether it's their first pregnancy or they're having their, you know, another child. The stress is the biggest factor that women are dealing with. So having ways to manage that stress. And I usually don't tell people, you know, cannabis isn't your first go-to, because you really got to do some spiritual work. You got to do your inner work. And then, you know, cannabis is like the supplement to that. And what it does is it does ease those fears that you might have and allow you to be in a better relaxed state to think about things. And even when labor comes and you're experiencing these waves, you know, which we call contractions, it does help to relax your body. So it does help to get you more prepared in that delivery process of a baby.
That is. So you saying use all the way up until birth? Then that is very, very interesting.
I've had experiences with moms that have done edibles in labor, and or tinctures. I usually prefer a tincture, which is either a glycerin or an alcohol-based tincture. And yeah, I've had experience with women that have used it during that time. Now, it's like I said, it's not for everyone.
Correct.
So you do have to be mindful, because I also have to teach people and educate people on these laws that we have here in Ohio and how to navigate, children's services. They're a little bit more lax now if you birth at the hospital, but I'm not a hospital birthing midwife. I only do home birth.
Correct.
So it's a little bit easier to navigate, the ropes. But when you do go into these hospital systems, moms have to be very aware and cognizant and know their own rights, because they'll use that against her when she's having a baby. And a lot of moms have to deal with children's services. So you have to know how to navigate that system as well.
Absolutely. What's ironic is that alcohol is legal, but unless you're some kind of crazy, they might not say anything to you. So that is
all right.
That is very interesting. It's funny that you said the spiritual aspect first before the medicinal use. Now, I know some people who might not subscribe to that. They might just be going for that pain relief. In that, have you found any differences between sativa and, say, the indica that's more that the pregnant ladies find more comfortable?
It's a balance. It really is, because sativas, I consider that like your happy version of cannabis, where it keeps you kind of going.
Right.
Where indicas are a little bit more heavy, and sometimes when you are in that process, you do want something that's a little bit heavier. This heavier, like in your relaxation, is what I should say, because indica gives you that all over the body relaxation, whereas sativas are more in your head and things like that. So a good mix of the two works best during labor. But sometimes, it really depends on the mom. It depends on her own disposition and how she feels. But I usually recommend like a nice balance of both.
Oh, that is, and I agree. Just being around this plant for a long time, that I found that it is a little bit, like I said, low and slow. And I definitely would recommend that for a pregnant young lady. You just can't just jump off into this 2 feet, think you're going to start at the top, and ease into it, low and slow. We got plenty of time. You should be over 21 using this. You should be some kind of responsible. And that's when I like the dosage where you could trust it. I would definitely look for something from a dispensary and an edible that you could trust that it's 10 milligrams worth or 5 milligrams cubes, and work your way up until you might be a person that's comfortable at 15 or 20. And that's all depending on your chemistry. And just like she said, it's a combination. You might want a 70-30 hybrid leaning toward indica. Sometimes it's hard to find sativa combination mixes of gummy. The best place I saw pretty much would be Michigan, and pretty much all Ohio dispensary has sativa gummies in like 10 to 25 milligram bites. But then don't forget, you don't have to eat the whole thing. You can just bite the corner of it and wait yourself 30 to 45 minutes and get into those things. Is there anything like when you said I don't like adding tobacco or nicotine, even though there's plenty of people who enjoy their products like that. Everybody from Europe, and if you mess with a Jamaican, he gonna put some tobacco in that weed. I definitely understand that. Now with the vaping, I like the waxes myself. It's pure. Now, have you had any of the ladies? Like I like the Puffco, that's like the dabless, a dab without the fire wax. Have you had any studies from the ladies coming back with the wax?
Not from the wax, but I usually I'm not a big fan of the vaping and the waxes, just because it does irritate you. Even for me, it irritates, my lung system when I'm, in the process of using or consuming the plant. But with moms, my best advice is really to start learning the plant and making your own items with it.
Oh, yeah.
Because women are, especially when you're having children, you are becoming your child's first pediatrician. You're becoming your child's first herbalist. You're becoming your child's first teacher. So I really do suggest that they learn the whole entire plant and start breaking that plant down and making the things that they know that they would use on a regular basis. Because like you said, we live in Ohio, and if they don't want you to, combust the flower. So finding ways that work best for you. I mean, if you knew how to make a wax, I would say even try that, because it's not a hard process. But I don't have a whole lot of information on how the wax works, because I usually tell people to steer away from, the vaping. Because usually when you're consuming, I prefer that they do it just as clean as possible without having to irritate your lungs.
You talking to the right guy. I got a little information on that. I actually like wax, and I will make my own wax, and I agree with you. Now, what the new technology with the carts is this a difference between resin carts. Now, when you see a RESIN cart, that's usually going to be a chemical extraction. Either we're going to use butane, CO2, hard CO2, nitrogen, a lot of things to isolate basically the trichomes off of the plant. And now what we have is you got some of the premium companies with their carts, and I have a couple with me. They are just using the bubble hash wax. And what that is, for the people who don't know, and what we're talking about, is you just taking all of the good parts off the plant. You're taking the trichomes off of the plant. You're shaking all of the crystals basically off the plant, and it's going through a series of screen bags. And then we take that last bit of the screen bags, all of the crystals that you see on the back. And then when you collect those, you dry those out, and it's just 100% THC. The high quality, we want to take the plant matter out of it, and then we'll do a process and heating it up to about 170 degrees and do it. You also, on a budget, you can get a thing called a nug smasher. You just get a piece of wax paper, and you could put one bud of marijuana. That's how we should have been smoking weed in Ohio the whole time. You put your bud into the wax paper, and then you squeeze it down in a nug smasher. The cheap way to go about that, and like you said, the home use, and something I'm always going to talk about, how to do these things on a budget. You get a piece of wax paper, you get your girl's curling iron, or you get your flat iron, rather, not a curling iron. You get a flat iron, put that on about, I'm going to say 170 degrees, and squeeze that into a piece of wax paper for a good, I don't say 3 to 4 minutes. And then what's left on the wax paper, it's just pure wax. That's the first form of hash that we was making. You can take that off. I will put that in the freezer after you smash it, let it cool down so you can handle it. And then you can put that into a wax. You can make that into edibles, and it's very clean. Now, the technical part of what I'm saying, of making a cart out of that, you would have to put it in a water bath overnight, about 24 hours at 125 degrees. And it will get to a viscosity, and that means it get thin enough so we could put it down. But I appreciate you talking to us today about the pregnancy and marijuana, and I look forward to maybe you coming by the studio and us having another conversation. You're so knowledgeable, and we could get into some of the history. I definitely like to have you on the show at another time, and I definitely appreciate all the information and the knowledge you have, and coming on the show on such a short notice. You definitely get a free joint from me, or whatever you like from me when you come on.
Definitely, and we will definitely connect, because I this is one of the topics that I know a lot about, so I'm definitely willing to share and even explore new learning with the plant.
Do you have any links that people wanted to get in touch with you? Where could we reach you at if people had any other questions for you, or are you available?
I'm on Facebook as my business name is with Shuri Sankofa, SHURRI Sankofa. I'm also on Instagram, Kuumba, KUUMBA_healing_PMA. And those really are the two places that people can find me. I'm more of a word of a mouth person. So if you find me on those two networks, then, we'll go from there.
I'm like you. I'm on the drum. You got to hit boom, boom, clap. Nah, there you go. Well, thank you so much. We look forward to talking to you. Thank you for short notice, and have a happy day today.
Thank you. You too. Enjoy the show.
All right. Thank you much. All right, that was a great segment. I think we're gonna queue up for another little. All right, well, that is gonna be great for the day. This is our first show out the gate. Well, appreciate EP. Meet me at sohio.com. Get to the YouTube. Next week we'll do a better job. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate everything. Appreciate the Voice of Radio. Check y'all out next week. Stay high. Stay high so you don't punch people in the face.